Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Myself, Siyadisha Maheshwari, a proud Fintama and your faculty for financial management. So, welcome back to the brand new session of business valuation. Now, my friends, you might have studied the concept of business valuation in your graduation or in your professional exams, but ACCA has totally different way of testing this in the exams, and we the Fintrama are going to learn the way the questions are going to be examined in the exams. And also, my friend, we are going to do all the concepts, the practical implication of this particular topic. This particular topic of business valuation is, yes, very important from the exam perspective, but also this is going to help you in your professional jobs. So without wasting any time, let's just jump into the topic. But my friend, before jumping into the topic, what we are going to do, we are going to do the quick recap of our last session. Although in our last session we have already done all the concepts and all the questions and examples and whatnot, but still before starting the new session, what we do a quick recap of our last session. So let's see what we have done in our last session. In our last session, we have discussed the four theories: the traditional theory of capital structure, the net income approach, the theory after tax, and the pecking order theory. The traditional theory and the net income approach, both of these theories says what? Just remember quickly. Both of these theories says one thing, that what? That your overall cost of capital or your WACC will not be affected by your capital structure. What they mean to say is that the interest payment which you are going to do on your debt, because of that you will get a tax benefit. But this particular theory believes that tax benefit is not going to reduce your is not going to reduce your overall cost of capital or WACC. So basically these two theory have this understandability, or they believe that your overall cost of capital is not affected by your capital structure. The third theory, that is the theory after tax. This theory modifies the above two theories, and this says that if you have debt in your capital structure, and if you pay interest on that particular debt, you are going to get tax benefit of the interest payment, and that, because of that tax benefit which you are obtaining, that is going to reduce your overall cost of capital. So basically theory after tax says that yes, the overall cost of capital or the WACC is affected by the capital structure, because if in your capital structure you have debt, then you will be paying interest, and on that interest you will be having a tax benefit, and that tax benefit is going to reduce what? Is going to reduce your overall cost of capital. The last theory, that is the pecking order theory. This theory says that company do whatever they want to do. Basically they do whatever they think to do, but they do not do what they should do. Basically in this particular theory, what they try to say, that they do not try to minimize WACC. They do not try to minimize WACC. What they do, they can even seek additional capital in their preference or the pecking order. Preference of what? They can they can raise from retained earnings, they can raise from equity, from preference, from debt. So that is what this particular theory says. We have discussed all these theory in detail with the practical examples in our last session. This was the quick recap of this particular of your last session, but we have already done each and everything in detail. So now, without wasting any minute, let's just jump into the new topic, that is of what? That is the today's topic, that is the topic business valuation. Now, my friend, what is the need of business valuation? Why we need business? Why we need to value business? That is the first and the foremost question over here. When we are studying this topic, business valuation, we first need to understand that what is the need of business valuation. Now, my friend, whenever you are purchasing something or you are selling something, you need to decide a purchase consideration. And for deciding that purchase consideration, what do you need to do? For deciding that purchase consideration, you need to value yourself, okay? And for that, you need to, and in case of company, you need to value your shares. Now let's begin from the very starting. Let's take an example. There might be a company name as XYZ company, okay, and this company want to diversify itself. What it want to diversify itself, want to expand itself, and for that company might need additional capital. Now this additional capital can come from various sources. It can come from retained earnings, it can come from loans of any kind, and it can come from selling your own stake. So when company want to sell its stake, in the above two cases, when you are raising additional capital from retained earnings or loans, you do not need to value your company. But my friend, when you are selling your own stake, in that case, obviously you are selling your stake, you need to value your stake. You need to value your stake or your shares. And at that particular point, my friend, the concept of business valuation will be utilized and needed. And there you will be, you need to understand that how can I, value my company, my shares. So business valuation, the concept of business valuation in general is utilized whenever you want to sell or purchase something, or some takeover is going on, and for that you need to do what? You need to value your shares. Now my friend, business valuation, this valuation which I am saying is being done by two approaches. There are two approaches. The one approach is the income based approach, and the another approach is the asset based approach. By this time we understand that, okay, why we need to value our shares, or why we need to value our stake, because we either we want to sell or we want to buy it, and for selling or buying we need to decide or identify the purchase consideration, and for that we need to value our shares. But how this valuation is being done, what is the method? So let me draw that methods for you. There are two methods, the income based method and the asset based method. So business valuation is done by there are two approaches, the income based approach and the asset based approach. Now in income based approach, if I talk about in income based approach, you are going to value the company on the basis of its future earning. Whatever they are going to earn in future, on the basis of that you are going to value that company in present. So basically over here, company is valued on the basis of future earnings, because what the buyer is doing over here, the buyer is thinking that, okay, I am going to get all this amount in future. So okay, if the future earnings are great, really great, he might be willing to pay more for that company. But if he thinks that the future earnings are not that great or very, very risky, he might not be willing to pay huge amount for it. So basically in this income based approach, you are going to value the company on the basis of what? On the basis of its future earnings or the future dividends. And in the asset based approach, you are going to value the company on the basis of what? On the basis of value of its assets. Basically what you are doing over here, you are valuing company on the basis of value of its assets. The value of assets again can be identified on three bases. The first is the historical basis, the second is the replacement basis, and the third is realizable basis. We are going to discuss all these three bases in detail later and further in this chapter, but as of now what you need to remember, that in asset based approach we are going to value company on the basis of what? On the basis of value of its asset, and the value of asset can be historical value, can be replacement value, can be realizable value. And the other method on by which we can value the value the business, that is the income base, in which we are going to value the company, the business, on the basis of its future earning. In general, in practical world, out of these two methods, you can ask me, ma'am, which method is more utilized or more usable? Income based method is more utilized or more usable in the in a normal scenarios. But what you need to remember for this particular at this particular time, that first, why business valuation is needed? Because whenever you have to sell something or you have to purchase something, you have to identify purchase consideration. And for identifying purchase consideration, how you're going to do, there are two methods, the income based method and the asset based method. In income based methods, the value is identified on the basis of earnings. In asset based method, the value is identified on the basis of value of assets. Clear? Everything is clear by this time? Now, what are you going to value? We understood that we are going to value, we are going to value, and this is the way we are going to value. But what you are going to value? You are going to value company, business. That's what we are going to value. Okay, that is the thing for which you are going to identify the valuation. Now, the companies are of two types. Companies are of two types. The first and the foremost kind of company is quoted company, my friend. Quoted company. So companies are of two types, quoted company and the unquoted company. Okay, my friend. Now let's understand what is the concept of quoted company and what is the concept of unquoted company. Okay, my friend. So quoted companies are those companies whose shares are traded on the stock exchange. That means they have their current market price and these are traded on stock exchange. Now you're going to ask me, ma'am, when they already have their current market price, then what is the need, what is the urge to again calculate their value and at the time of takeover and at the time of amalgamation and merger? Now, my friend, let's understand this way. Let's take an example over here. Let's say there's a company name as Virgin Atlantic. Okay, my friend. Now its current market price, there's a company name as Virgin Atlantic. Okay. Now its current market price, let's take it as $15 or it can be $5. The current market price of this particular company is $15 or $5. But its fair value, let's take it as $10. Fair value means the actual value, okay? The actual value which we are going to, we are going to calculate by the concept of business valuation. So its actual value, the fair value is $10, but in the in the stock exchange or in the stock exchange, the market price of this particular share can be $15 or can be $5. Now, if it is $15, that means this particular company is overvalued. And if it is $5, that means this particular company is undervalued. So, if we are going to do all these, if we are going to do all these transactions at the current market price, so it might be possibility that current market price can be overvalued or can be undervalued, and in that case, obviously if it is undervalued, then obviously the seller is going to get less purchase consideration, and if it is overvalued, then buyer has to pay the more purchase consideration. So obviously no one want to pay more and no one want to receive less. So that is the reason they want to come at one price, the price which is the fair value of that particular company. And for that is the reason in quoted company, even though they have current market price, still my friend, they calculate their fair value in case of amalgamation, merger, takeover. Why? Because they want to arrive at what? They want to arrive at the fair value. They do not want to do transaction at overpriced value or at underpriced value. They want a win-win situation. Do not want that someone is getting more or someone is getting less. They want a price which is optimum and correct for that particular company. So that is the reason that in case of quoted company, even though their share prices are traded at stock exchange, they have current market price. Still, whenever there is some takeover going on or whenever there is some amalgamation or merger is going on, and when they have to decide a purchase consideration, they calculate their fair value. And how this fair value is calculated, again the concept of business valuation arrives. By the concept of business valuation, they calculate the fair value. Okay, my friend. So now let's have a look what our content say regarding this. So our content says that quoted companies already have what? Already have share price valuation. This is the current market price of the share. So quoted company basically have a current market price where at the stock exchange. The main reason for making business valuation for quoted companies when there is takeover bid. So whenever there is takeover bid, the quoted company is going to value. Now let's continue with the example which we were discussing of Virgin Atlantic. So we know that the Virgin Atlantic was a company, and its shares are traded in the market at $15 or $5, but its fair value is $10. Now let's take it the example that if British Airways want to take over Virgin Atlantic. So for that, and for want to take over Virgin Atlantic, what they are going to do? They are going to value British Airways as well as Virgin Atlantic, and after valuing both these companies, they might come up at a valuation that, or purchase consideration that, for 1000 shares of Virgin Atlantic, shareholders of Virgin Atlantic will get 400 shares of British Airways. So they basically, this ratio of 1000 is to 400. This ratio of 1000 shares to 400 shares, how you arrived? You arrive by concept of business valuation. By valuing both the company, you are trying to assess, okay, this company value this much, this company value this much. If this company, that is British Airways, is going to take over Virgin Atlantic and mergers is going to take place, in that case, the British Airways is going to give 400 shares of British Airways to the shareholders of Virgin Atlantic who are holding 1000 shares. So this entire valuation, how you came up on this particular ratio, by the concept of business valuation, my friend. So by this time, I think you might be able to understand that how important this particular topic is, because takeovers, acquisition, mergers, they happen in the real world and they are very, very important. Okay. So that's the reason I'm saying that this particular topic is really, really important for you guys. Okay, let's get back to the content over here. So in our content, we were discussing that in case of quoted company, they have a current market price and the valuation take place whenever there is a takeover. In a takeover, the bidder always offer more for the shares in the target company than their current market price. So yes, it's obvious that generally whenever takeover happens, the bidder, in our example that was the British Airways, is going to value the shares of Virgin Atlantic at a little higher price than its current market price, or it can value at the price, that's its fair value price. A valuation might be made by the bidder in order to establish the fair value or the maximum value that he will bid for the shares in the target company. That's a simple thing, that the British Airways is going to do the valuation from the perspective of what, that so that he can come up at the fair value or the maximum value that he is targeting or that he is willing to pay for the Virgin Atlantic. The valuation placed on target company by bidder can vary substantially depending on the plans that bidder has for the target company after takeover has been completed. So yes, that is also one thing, that sometimes it can pay a little more extra because it might have some generous amount of, it might have some really good plans after takeover. It might want to do something really good with that particular company. So in that case, it might, can pay a little bit extra. But what we need to understand over here, that in quoted companies, also in quoted company also we need business valuation. Why? Even though they have current market price, still we need business valuation. Why? Because to identify the fair value, the value at which the fair value, and for that you need to do what? We need to value the business and at the time of takeovers. Then there's another concept, that is the unquoted companies. Now what is unquoted companies? Unquoted companies are those companies which shares are not traded on stock exchange. That means they do not have current market price. So you will say, ma'am, obviously in this case, since they do not have current market price, then though we have to, we have to calculate the value for at the time of takeover and mergers and acquisition. Yes, you are correct, my friends, that when in quoted company we have market price, still we are calculating valuation. So in case of unquoted company, when we do not have market price, we are going to do what? We are going to do the valuation of shares. The method remains the same. But the reasons can be different. How the reasons can be different? Let's discuss that. So we know over here, we know that unquoted companies are those companies where shares are not traded on stock market. That means they do not have current market price. Okay, so at the time of takeover, acquisition, you need to value unquoted companies. Now these takeover valuations, this is the one reason because of which we do valuation of shares or valuation of business, but there are lots of other reasons also. So in case of unquoted company, if we see, the one and the foremost reason why they want to value their share. Now see, again the unquoted company want to raise funds. Why? Because they want to diversify themselves. They want to expand themselves. Now from where these funds are going to come? The question remains the same. It can come from loans, it can come from retained earnings, and it can again comes from by selling your stake. Now in case of unquoted company, what happen is, when company want to sell their stock or want to sell their stake, what they can do is, they again have two options. The first option which they have is, they can basically raise funds. They can raise funds from general public. From general public by doing what? By bringing initial public offer. So in this case, what they are doing, they are raising funds from general public, and for that what they are doing, for that they are bringing initial public offer, and in this case their shares will be sold to whom? Their shares will be sold to general public. And since you are selling your shares, you have to value them. The very recent example, if I talk about the example, the very recent example is Zomato. Zomato want to diversify itself, want to expand itself. So what this company did? This was the unquoted company earlier. This company listed itself on stock market, and this company brought an initial public offer, and for that this company obviously had valued its shares. So you are understanding my point, that in case of unquoted company, since they are not traded on stock market, What is the need for valuation? So one reason is when an unquoted company raise funds from general public, they have to bring an initial public offer, and when they are bringing initial public offer, they have to value its shares, just like the case of Zomato. When Zomato, it was an unquoted company, it converted itself into a public limited company and brought an initial public offer, and for bringing that initial public offer, because it want to sell its shares to the general public, so for that sale it need to identify the purchase consideration, and for that it has to value its shares, my friend. Now again, in this case, in the unquoted company itself, one more example. In this particular case, there's one more company named as Urban Ladder. Okay, this Urban Ladder is basically a online furniture company. This particular company again want to diversify itself, want to expand itself, and want to do all those stuff. Okay, now this particular company want to diversify and expand itself. Now this company also need funds. Now from where it can raise the funds? Again, those three options: the loan, the retained earnings, and the capital. So this company decided to sell its stake. But my friend, this company does not want to go to the public, does not want to raise funds from general public, because yes, raising from general public requires lots of effort. It has lots of rules and regulations. You have to follow lots of rules and regulation and compliances on all those requirements. So this company does not want to do all those things. What this company did? This company sell its stake to a private investor. That is basically Urban Ladder sell its 96%, it's kind of a takeover or merger only, stake to Reliance. Okay, and for this particular transaction or for this particular deal, what you have to do? You have to value the company. And then again, the concept of business valuation will be required. You have to value the company. Wherever you have to value the company, the concept of business valuation will be required. And in this particular case, in this particular transaction, Reliance basically paid approximately $26 million for 96% stake in Urban Ladder. So basically this calculation of $96 million, how you arrive at this figure? By using the concept of business valuation. So my friend, by this time you guys are able to understand that how important this chapter. We have taken the example of British Airways for the quoted company. We have taken the example of Zomato and the Urban Ladder for the unquoted company. So you are seeing there this particular chapter has a practical implication, because takeovers, mergers, acquisition actually happens in the real world, and when they actually happen in the real world, this particular concept actually applies in the real world. Getting my point, my friends? So what we have studied till this point? We have studied the quoted companies and the unquoted companies. And you know what is a quoted company? Companies which are being traded on the stock market, which have a current market price, and unquoted companies are those companies which are not traded on stock market and which do not have current market price. And in both the cases, whenever there is a takeover, acquisition, merger happen, you have to value the shares. But my friend, in case of unquoted company, there's one more point when you have to value your shares. When that's going to happen? In case of unquoted company, if the shareholders die, and you have to value its share, then you have to value its shares for tax liability purpose. So in case of unquoted company, there is one more point for which you have to value the shares. Otherwise, in both the cases, you have to value the shares whenever there is some purchase or sale, so to identify the purchase consideration. Just have a look what our content say regarding this. So our content say regarding the unquoted company that for unquoted company, a business valuation may be carried out for any of the following reasons. The first, Company might be converted into public limited company with the intention of lodging it to the stock market. And when company comes to stock market for first time, an issue price for the share has to be decided. So this is the example of what? This case is what? The Zomato example lie in this particular case, that Zomato, when they want to diversify, expand, and they want to raise additional fund, what they did, they converted itself into public limited company. And when they converted itself into public limited company, they came up with the initial public offer, and for that they have to they have to obviously have a issue price. And how they landed on the issue price? By the concept of business valuation. Second is when shares in an unquoted company are sold privately, the buyer and seller have to agree a price. That's the case of your Urban Ladder and the Reliance. When Urban Ladder is selling its stake privately to Reliance, again you have to decide the purchase consideration, and for that what you have to do? Again you have to imply the concept of business valuation. When there is merger involving an unquoted company, it is similar to the case of that Urban Ladder and Reliance only. A valuation is needed as a basis for deciding on the terms of merger. And the last point is when a shareholder in an unquoted company dies, valuation is needed for the purpose of establishing a tax liability. Okay, so by this time you are clear with all these concepts. Now what we are going to do? Now we are going to study the valuation model. Okay, now what we are going to do? We are going to study the valuation model. So the valuation models, okay guys, now we have discussed that there are two valuation models. The first is the income based and the another one was the asset based. In income based, how we are going to value company? On the basis of future earning. And in asset based, how we are going to value the company? On the basis of its assets. This is clear by this. Now, in income based, there are further methods. The first method which we are going to study in the income based valuation model is the PE ratio method. Okay, so in income based approach, the first method which we are going to study is the PE ratio method. Now, what is the PE ratio method? Let's just discuss this. Now, my friend, the PE ratio, what is this? It is the price earning ratio. Okay. Now, what this ratio identify? This ratio identify, the basic formula of PE ratio is basically your MPS upon EPS. And what this ratio identify? This ratio identify that how much you earn in respective of your current market price. How much you earn in respective of your current market price. That if I am buying a share of, let's say, $50 and I am receiving $5 as my earning, so my PE ratio turn outs to be, that is it's not $10 basically. So the current market price, if the current market price of the share is $50 and its earning is $5, okay, per share, both of these things are per share, then my PE ratio turn out to be 10. So basically what they are trying to say over here, that in respective of my market price, in respective of what? In respective of my market price, how much is my earning, or for earning that particular amount, how much is I am paying. Okay. Now, there is one more thing. There's one more thing in case of PE ratio. PE ratio can be high, can be low, or it can be, stable PE ratio. Normally, an average PE ratio of 15, if the PE ratio is between 15 to 20, it is considered as an average PE ratio. If it is 25 to 50, it is considered that's a high PE ratio. And very high PE ratio is what? Very high PE ratio is of 50 to 100 or beyond that. Beyond 100, that's considered a very high PE ratio. That means a very high PE ratio means what? A very high PE ratio means that the company share is somewhere it is overvalued, or the investors are willing to pay more. Why they are willing to pay more? Because they are expecting that in near future or in the future they are going to generate, this particular company is going to generate huge amount of earnings. So because they are expecting that in the future this company is going to generate huge amount of earnings, they are willing to pay high at this point of time. Either this is the reason that either that company is really good and everything is very good in that company, and that company in the investor thinks that in the near future, this company is going to grow at very large scale, so they are willing to pay high amounts and they are willing to pay high market price in right now. Or that company is just, or the next thing is what, that company is just a overvalued company. Okay, so these are the two reasons of the high PE ratio. If the company is overvalued, if company is had a high PE ratio and the investor does not expect that this particular company has a very good future and this company is going to generate good amount of earning in the future, and just a overvalued company, that's not good. That company is not good company to invest. But if the company has really good future and the investors really think that this company will grow, will become something really big in the future, in that case high PE ratio is okay, that's fine, there is no issue in that particular company. Let me give you an example of Prudential. So Prudential is an insurance based company, okay, and as you know that in the future the insurance business is going to grow, okay, because every other person right now is unhealthy or have some issues, and say though they're obviously going to take insurance, health insurance or the other kinds of insurance. So obviously the insurance business is going to grow in the future, and its PE ratio is 196.8, somewhere around 196.8. So what this mean, that this particular company, why this PE ratio is so high, either this company is overvalued, okay, or the investor think that in the near future or in the future this company is going to generate huge amount of funds, or will have huge amount of earnings, and that's the reason, even though it has a high market price, still the company want to the investor want to invest in this particular company. Also there's one more reason, when company has very less risk, okay, when company is very less risk and it's very stable company, normally the large cap companies are of this kind, that they have very low risk and they have everything is good, they have very low risk, they have good earnings, they are stable companies, they have a very big brand attached to it, everything is good to them. So obviously all the investors want to buy those company, and when investor is going to buy that particular kind of company, in the share market the prices will increases. When price will increases, obviously the PE will also increase and that particular share will become costly, and when it become costly, somewhere it also become the overvalued. So yes, there are three reasons of high PE ratio. The first reason, it can be just like a overvalued company. Secondly, the company has very good future and in future it can generate really good amount. So that's the reason, the reason which we have discussed in case of Prudential, that insurance business is going to become a big business in the future, and that's why it has a high P. And third, when company has it's a very stable and low risk company, then also investor want to invest in that particular company, and when they want to invest, the demand for that particular share increases, and when demand increases, what's going to happen, the share price obviously increase, and when share price obviously increase in respective of the earnings, what is going to happen, the PE ratio will increase. Because see, if there's company X company, let's take an example, X company and Y company, both these companies share price is, let's take $50. But if I talk about earnings, let's say this company has an earning of 5 and this company has a earning of 2. So if you are going to calculate the PE of this company, that's going to come 10. But if you are going to calculate PE of this particular company, that will be 50 divided by 2, that is 25. That means this particular company PE ratio is high. Now what is the reason? Even though it's earning, these are the earnings, even though its earning is more but its earning is less, since its PE ratio is high, what's the reason? Reason can be, it might be simply a overvalued company. Okay. Second reason, that in future this company which is generating right now $2 per share, it can generate more than that, it might generate $10, $20, the investor are expecting this thing. So yes, if investor expecting this thing that okay, this company is going to become a big company, going to become something big in the future, then again the even though P in that case also PE will become high, because obviously in that case that particular company shares will increase in the market, share price will increase in the market even though the earnings are still not at that particular point. And thirdly, when company is very low risk company, when company does not have any kind of risk attached to it, in that case also the company can have high PE ratio. So what we understood from all this discussion and all this thing, that you can value, now how you're going to value your share by the PE ratio. You understood what is PE ratio. PE ratio is simply what is your MPS in regard your EPS. Okay, this is basically the concept of PE and what high PE do. Now the question comes how we can value our share from PE ratio. Now if you have seen the formula of PE ratio, what was the formula? MPS divided by EPS. If I just put this thing like this way, PE ratio into EPS is going to give you MPS. Simple. PE ratio multiplied by EPS is going to give you the market price or can give you the value of your share. So this is the way you can do what? You can value your company. Now you are going to ask me that ma'am, how we are going to calculate PE ratio, because we are calculating MPS and we are dividing EPS and then we are calculating PE ratio. So what we are going to take for PE ratio and what we are going to take EPS. See, whenever you are valuing the companies, you are valuing on the basis of some estimates that can be for the future, or that estimates can be on for future, or that estimates can be based on the past trends. Okay, that estimates can be based on the past trends. So let's say there's a company, X, and its PE ratio for, let's say, for past 10 years is coming 10. For the past 10 years, its average PE ratio is coming 10. And its estimated earnings, estimated EPS, again we can estimate EPS, earning per share, for the future. If the company feels that EPS is growing by 10% every year, so if you're in past you have a if you have a EPS of 5, the next year it will become 5.1, then next year it will become again 10% is going to increase. So by that you can calculate an estimated EPS, or you can come out at an average EPS. Now let's take in this particular case, the company have identified that the estimated EPS of that particular company for one share is 5 per share. Simple. You have calculated PE ratio on the basis of past trend, and you have calculated EPS on the basis of past and the future growth, that in past there is a growth of 10% and right now my EPS is 5, so it will grow from 5 to 5.1 and somewhere like that. Okay, so on the basis of that you have estimated that your EPS is 5. Now by this you can simply calculate value of your share. What will be value of your share? It will be 10 into $5, that's going to give you $50. That is the value of your share. So what you are doing over here in this particular matter of valuation, you are basically taking estimated PE on the basis of what? On the basis of past trend, and you are taking estimated EPS and you are multiplying it, and you are getting what? You are getting the value of your share. Now let's have a look to our content. Okay, so over here, so what is price earning ratio? A PE ratio is the ratio of what? Ratio of the market value of the share to the annual earning per share, that we have already discussed. For every companies whose shares are traded on stock exchange, there is PE ratio. Yes, for all the quoted company you will easily identify their PE ratio, because they will be having a EPS and they will be having a MPS. So at any given point of time you can easily calculate their PE ratio, because MPS and EPS are already available on the basis of that. Now for private, but the problem come in case of private company, the companies basically which are what, which are unquoted companies, since they are not traded on the stock exchange, so they do not have MPS, and since they do not have MPS, you cannot calculate, you know, their PE ratio. So basically what's going to happen in case of private company or in case of unquoted company, you cannot have past trend of what, past trend of PE ratio, you cannot have that. So you will ask me, ma'am, that when we do not have an estimated PE ratio or an average PE ratio, or when we cannot calculate PE ratio on the basis of past trend, how we are going to value company on value unquoted company on by this method? I am going to answer that you. How you are going to value a unquoted company through PE ratio? In that particular case, what you are going to do? In that particular case, you are going to identify a similar kind of company, which is quoted company. You are going to identify a similar kind of company which is a quoted company, and you will take its PE as your PE, and by that you are going to value its shares. What I mean to say, let me explain you with the example. So Zomato is now a quoted company. Now if suppose Swiggy want to value its shares, what this company is going to do? Let me give you an example over here. You have this particular company, Zomato, which is now a quoted company. And this company is what's the business of this company? This is in food, basically online delivery of food. This is in food delivery business, and this is a quoted company. Now there's another company named as Swiggy. Okay. Now if this company wants to, value itself by PE method. By what? By PE method. The problem which this company is going to face is it does not have PE ratio. It does not have PE ratio. And why this company does not have PE ratio? Because it does not have current market price, because its shares are not traded in stock exchange. So since it does not have current market price, it does not have PE ratio. So what this company Swiggy is going to do? Since the business of both these companies are same, both are in food, online delivery of food. So what this company is going to do? This company is going to take the PE ratio. Swiggy is going to take the PE ratio of Zomato, considering what? Considering that they both are in same kind of business. So considering since they both are in same kind of business, so they will be having approximately same kind of PE, and considering that, Swiggy is going to value itself. But what I want to tell you, when you need to always remember this thing, that quoted companies are always better than unquoted company. These companies are always better than unquoted companies, because in case of quoted, since they are listed on stock exchange, they have to follow lots of rules and regulations and compliances. That's the reason all the transaction which happens in case of quoted companies, they are to a very large extent available in the general public, and as such they are a bigger brand and they have a bigger brand value. So obviously a quoted, if you are investing in a quoted company, it is said to be always better and safe investment in comparison to a unquoted company. And that is the reason that investment in quoted company is considered little safe as investment in unquoted company. And that is the reason, since risk, if we talk about risk, the risk involvement is more in case of unquoted company, and since risk involvement is more in case of unquoted company, so you are going to take a little higher PE. Why you are going to take a little higher PE? Because you want to value that company, or you want to value that company a little bit higher, because if you are taking high risk, if you're taking high risk, your return should also be high. Your return should also be high. So that is the reason that you are going to take a little bit higher PE when you are, adapting PE or from quoted to, unquoted company. So I have given you example and I have make you understand that how a unquoted company is going to value itself by PE method. What is that company is going to do? That company is going to take the PE ratio of similar kind of company. Let's say just like Swiggy take the PE ratio of Zomato, and by taking that PE ratio, earnings you can estimate. So by taking that PE ratio, you are going to multiply your estimated earnings and you can calculate your value. Now just have a look at what our content say regarding this. So if we have a look at our content, okay, so if private company, a suitable PE ratio can be selected and used to drive valuation for the shares. A simple method of estimating value for a company in absence of stock market value is the EPS multiplied by the estimated PE ratio. So simply what you have to do is you have to simply take the estimated EPS and you have to multiply it with the estimated PE ratio and you will calculate the value of that particular share. EPS might be the EPS in the previous year or an average EPS for the recent year or a forecast EPS in the future. So EPS can be based on the historical data, or you can estimate or you can forecast EPS for the future, and on the basis of that you can take whichever you feel better for your valuation perspective. It can be historical or it can be future. PE is selected as a ratio that seems appropriate or suitable. A selected ratio might be based on the average PE ratio of number of similar companies whose shares are traded on stock market for which current PE ratio is therefore available. So basically, in case of unquoted companies, what you are going to do, either you can find out the similar kind of company and take its PE ratio, and if there are lots of similar companies, similar quoted company, then you can take average PE of all those similar companies which are working there and which are quoted. So this is the way you are going to calculate PE ratio of quoted company and the unquoted company. Now, what is the significance of high PE ratio? First, I have already told you what is the importance of high PE ratio. That what it tells you, that investors are expecting that this company is going to become what? This company is going to become big in the long run in the future. And secondly, there is a low risk attached to this particular company. And thirdly, that it's simply a overvalued company. So that is not a significance. Significance are only two. That first, the investors are expecting high growth from that company, and secondly, that's a very low risk company. So investors are willing to invest in that company. So first, expectation that EPS will grow rapidly. A high price is being paid for future profit perspective, and many small but successful fast growing companies are valued on a stock market on high PE ratio. So if company has a very good growth perspective, it might have a high PE ratio. Secondly, security of earnings. A well established low risk company would be valued on higher PE ratio than a similar company whose earnings are subjected to greater uncertainty. So if there are two companies and if a company has a very low risk attached to it, obviously in share market that per company will be having a great demand, and if it having a great demand, the PE ratio will obviously increase. On the other hand, a company which have a similar kind of company, but its future earnings are uncertain and it's a kind of a dicey company, not stable company, it will not be having a high PE ratio. Now, what is the problem with the PE ratio? We have understood that in case of income based approach, the first method which we have discussed till now is PE ratio. What is the formula of PE ratio? Simple, MPS by EPS, and if you want to value the company, then it is EPS into the estimated PE. Now in case of quoted company, you simply have a past trend of PE ratios, and you also have a estimated EPS which you can calculate on the basis of historical data, or you can forecast, and you have to multiply both of them and you will calculate your value. In case of unquoted company, yes, there is a problem because it does not have, these shares are not traded on stock market, so there is no past trend of PE ratio. So how you are going to have PE ratio? What you are going to do, you will going to look for a similar kind of a company, but which is a quoted company, and you are going to adapt its PE ratio, and you can calculate your value. This is the way you are going to do. You are going to utilize this particular method for valuation of quoted and unquoted company. But what is the problem if something has pros, then something will be having cons. So what's the problem attached to this particular method? Let's discuss that also. Firstly, the first and the biggest problem of in case of unquoted company is to find a similar kind of company. I have given you example of Zomato and Swiggy. We are able to find those companies, but there are lots of companies which do not have similar kind of companies. In that case, what they are going to do, how they are going to value themselves? In that case, this particular method fails. By this particular method, you cannot calculate value if you do not have, if you are a quoted company and if you do not have similar kind of if you are an unquoted company and you do not have similar kind of quoted company, then from where you are going to calculate PE? And if you are not able to calculate PE, or if you are not able to estimate PE, you cannot utilize this particular method. So the first problem is that only finding a quoted company with similar range of activity may be difficult, and quoted companies are often diversified, and they are diversified. They might be having lots of businesses. They might be not only in one particular sector. They might have different sectors, so it's become difficult. Secondly, a single year PE ratio may not be a good basis if earnings are volatile. So if your earnings are very volatile, they are not stable, then taking a single year PE ratio is not a good idea. In that case, it's always always better to take an average PE ratios, or on the basis of past trend. If you take an average PE ratio, that's always better, because taking single year PE ratio is not a good idea, because in that particular year it might be possible your earnings are very high, or your MPS is very high, and in that case your PE is also affected because of that. So taking single year PE ratio is always not a good idea. Then if PE ratio trend is used, then historical data will be used to value how the unquoted company will do in the future. And obviously, if you are taking a PE ratio trend, it's a historical data. It's based on the past trends, that in let's say last 10 years the PE ratio of a quoted company is 10. So on the basis of that, you are valuing that company. So obviously it might be possible that in the future that company is going to do really good, and you might be taking very less PE. And since you are taking very less PE, what you are doing, you are actually estimating, you are basically undervaluing that company. So that's not a very good idea. So that is also a big problem attached to a PE ratio, that since one of the figure, that is the estimated PE and from estimated PE and estimated EPS, one of the figure is only based on the past, because estimated EPS you can forecast it, you can take a future data, but for estimated PE you have to take the past data, and that past data can might be in the future that particular company do really well, and in that case because of that particular data you might have undervalued that company, and because of that the purchase consideration might be less for the seller, and he does not get the adequate price for that particular company. And the quoted company have a different capital structure to the quoted company. Also, when you are taking when you are adapting PE ratio of a quoted company to unquoted company, again the problem which is there is that quoted company obviously have a totally different capital structure in comparison to the unquoted company, and again this is going to do what? Again, because of this, valuation may impact, because see, if the company has debt, its valuation will be done accordingly. If company does not have debt, its valuation will be done accordingly. So obviously, because if there is a debt, you have to pay the interest element, and obviously the profit which is available to equity shareholder will be less. But if there is no debt, there will be no interest element, although there will be no tax benefit, but there will be no interest element, and hence the profit which is available to equity shareholder, the EPS which we say, will be high. So obviously, because of this the different capital structure, the EPS, the future EPS will also be different, and because of that the PE will also be different. So that is also one problem in case of adapting PE ratio of quoted company to unquoted company. Clear my point, friends? Now let's do one question over here. That's question number 1. So what our question number 1 says, the following information relates to two company, X PLC and Y PLC. X PLC on YPLC they have given you the data. The earning after tax is $2,10,000 and over here you have $9 lakh. The PE ratio of XPLC is 16 and the PE ratio of YPLC is 21. Now YPLC management estimate that if they were to acquire XPLC, so basically Y is acquiring X, they could save $1 lakh annually after tax on administration cost in running the new joint company. So basically when YPLC is going to take over XPLC, they are going to save $1 lakh. And I have already told you that saving, if you are saving your cost, that is also the benefit, that is also the revenue which you are earning. So additionally, they estimate that the PE ratio of the new company, where the new company which is going to frame, its PE ratio will be 18. On the basis of these estimate, what is the maximum that the shareholder of YPLC would be paid for the entire share capital of XPLC? And they have given you the option A, B, C, D. Now let's see the example. If you see the combined value, the combined earnings of X, and what is the our formula is? Our formula is basically over here estimated earnings into the estimated PE ratio. So what is the estimated earnings of the new company? This $2,10,000 of XPLC which it is earning, it is going to earn this after even takeover and merger also. YPLC is also going to earn $9 lakh which it is earning right now, and also when these two companies going to merge, they are going to save $1 lakh. So this is the total estimated earnings, and when you multiply this earning with what you are going to have to multiply by its PE ratio, so you get this amount, that is 2,178,80,000. So basically this is the amount, this is the value of what? Value of the new company. And if we see the value of Y company on its own, what we are doing, we are multiplying 9 lakh into 21, that's going to give you 18 over here 189,900,000. This is the amount which you are getting when you are basically valuing Y company. So the difference between, why there is a difference of this, why this difference is coming, this difference in the earning of YPLC, why it is coming, because this is the value of XPLC, this is the value of XPLC, because you are merging this particular company, and because of that your value has increased. Earlier the value of YPLC, if we see, it was this much, okay, it was 1 crore 89 lakhs, and after the merger the value of 1 crore 89 lakhs, after the merger the new company which has formed, its value has increased, so this increase in the value, why this increase has happened? Because value of X company is also involved over here. So the difference between these two value, that's the difference between these two value, that is $28,80,000, $28,80,000, that is the value, that is the maximum value of X company. That is what? That is the maximum value of X company. So what we have done over here, we have first calculated the value of new company on the basis of what? On the basis of estimated earnings multiplied by the estimated PE. The estimated earnings of the new company will be what? Earning of both the old companies plus also the saving they are doing, okay. And then from that, what we have multiplied, what we have subtracted, we have subtracted the value of Y on its own. So what we have done, we have multiplied its earning from its PE ratio, and we get the value of Y company, and the difference between these two values is the value of X company. Now you can ask me that, ma'am, why we have not calculated value of X company by simply multiplying 2,10,000 multiplied by 16? Because I have already told you that whenever there's a merger or acquisition happens, we are always going to give the other companies little bit extra. And in this particular case, what's happening over here is basically because of this merger, since they both are working really well, because of this merger, since they both are working really well, so value of XPLC also increases, and the value of XPLC is 28,80,000, which is approximate to $2.9 million. Simple and easy. Then the next ratio which we have over here is earning yield ratio. What we have over here is earning yield ratio. Now what this ratio says, now this particular ratio over here, this particular ratio does not tell you any growth, okay? This does not tell you any growth or anything like that. This particular ratio only tells you that whatever you are investing in that particular company, what is the amount of return you are receiving from that company. The earning yield ratio, okay, the earning yield ratio says what, that whatever you are investing in one particular company, from that what is the amount of returns you are receiving from it. Now from this particular ratio, how we are going to value the company, that we are going to discuss. Now see, let me first take the example for you guys over here for the earning yield. So for earning yield, if I see over here, one simple thing, let's take an example of Reliance, okay. So let's take the right now the if I see the price of Reliance, it's, let's take it somewhere around 2148.25, and its EPS is somewhere around 73.59. So if I have to calculate its earning yield, that will be 73.59 divided by 2148.25 into 100, that's somewhere around 3.43%. So basically what this 3.43% shows you, this basically shows that whatever amount you have invested, in return of it, what is your earning. So basically if you have invested 2148.25, in return your earnings are of what, or earnings are of 73.59. that is what earning yield ratio shows, okay. It does not show any growth, it simply shows how much returns you are receiving from a company where you have invested some amount. Simple and easy. Now how this particular ratio, by this particular ratio, how we can calculate the value of a company. So if you see the basic formula is annual earning divided by the market value of the share. Now what you are going to do, you are just shuffle this formula, and this formula becomes annual earning divided by the earning yield. So basically what you are going to do, you can calculate the value of share by doing what, by dividing annual earnings from the earning yields. Now again the same way, in case of PE ratio, we estimate the earning and we estimate the PE ratio. In this case again what we are going to do, we are going to estimate, because we are calculating, we are valuing the company. So, and obviously we are valuing on the basis of the future earning. So we are going to estimate the future earning, the annual earning of the company in future, and also we are going to estimate the earned yield in the future. Now obviously for earning yield, what we can do, we can take a past trend, just like in case of PE ratio, we have taken the past trend, that okay, if past trend of 10 PE ratio of 10 per 10 is going on, then we can assume that in the future also it's going to remain same way. In this particular case also, what we are going to do, that we can take an estimated earnings and we can take the estimated earning yield, we can divide them and we can calculate the value of the company. And also again, okay, Over here, if you see the content, a suitable earning yield for private company may be similar to the earning yield on the shares in a similar quoted company. And in the same way in case of PE ratio method, when there is a private company, it does not have its market price, and it does not, since it does not have its market price, it does not have a past trend of PE ratio. Same case goes with the earning yield method in case of unquoted company, since it does not have a market price, so it does not have a past trend of earning yield ratio. And since it does not have a past trend of earning yield ratio, what this company is going to do is this unquoted company is going to find out similar kind of company which is a quoted company, and it is going to adapt its earning yield ratio for valuation of its shares. Simple, same the way we have with the concept which we have applied in case of PE ratio for calculation of a value of this unquoted company. The same way we are going to calculate the value of a unquoted company in case of earning yield by by adapting the earning yield ratio of a quoted company working in a similar kind of business. In case of quoted company, you do not have any problem. You already will be having past trend of earning yield ratios, and you will simply estimate the annual earnings. You simply multiply your estimated annual earnings with the earning yields, and you will be arriving at the market price of the share. So it might be more appropriate to select a earning yield that is higher than the earning yield to a similar quoted company to allow a higher risk of investing in a private company. That's the same concept, because I have already told you that in case of unquoted company, you will be having a little bit higher risk involved as compared to the quoted company. So since a high risk is involved, you will be wanting higher returns, and since you want higher returns, you will be considering the earning yield, or in case of unquoted company, a little bit high in comparison to a similar kind of quoted company. So if in similar kind of quoted company, if let's say in Zomato you are taking earning yield ratio of 3, so in when you are valuing Swiggy, you are going to take the earning yield ratio of 4. Why are you taking this 1% extra? Because Zomato is a quoted company and Swiggy is an unquoted company, so you will be having more. When you are investing in an unquoted company, the risk is more, and when high risk is involved, what do? You want high returns, and for that high returns, you will be taking a earning yield little bit high. So earning yield valuation method is essentially a variation. Again, so they are in the content also I have written that's the variation of PE ratio method of valuation, and is subjected to same criticism. The same problem with the PE ratio method has, the same problems lies with the earning yield ratio method. The first problem, that in case of quoted company there is no problem, but in case of unquoted company, the first problem is what in PE ratio method, that you have to find the similar kind of company. So over here also you have to find a similar kind of company. Second problem, that quoted company are normally has a diversification, that means they have different lines of business. So obviously their PE will be impacted because of that, and the same problem lies in the earning yield method also, that is quoted companies have diversification, so obviously their earning yield will obviously impacted because of that again. So see, the problems which you have in the PE ratio method for adapting the PE of quoted to unquoted, the same problem you have in case of earning yield method when you are adapting the PE of quoted company for valuing an unquoted company.